sent
That
you
was,
your check-in review today.
yeah, I haven't got to watch it yet.
That's okay. No rush on that.
Yeah, like my work computer is like, um, I they don't allow login unless you use one password, so I can't like sign it to anything else.
Oh, that's weird. Hmm. Okay, so I think we're live in Facebook. Let me just double check real quick. Sorry guys for the wait.
You're all good.
Promise we're gonna be covering some really good stuff today.
I like good stuff.
Okay. Yeah, so it does look like we're live. Awesome. Okay, cool. So this is the final live call for the habit challenge that we're going through. And this is actually the final week of the habit challenge. So all you guys are super close to finishing up, and the prize winner, the grand prize winner, will be announced next Sunday. And we'll have a final live Zoom for that on next Monday. So yeah, super exciting things. A lot of you guys are doing really well. And today I'm going to be giving away a free prize at the end of the Zoom call, so try to stay on if you guys can, and I'll be giving that away for free to someone.
You
And
can
yeah,
just go ahead
today,
and give it to me, Paige. It's fine. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, with everything, how everything's been going the last three times, like that's pretty wild. But yeah, it was funny. Um, so today we are going to be talking about how to get, first of all, like how to eat more food without gaining fat. That's a really cool principle. And then also how to get leaner and stronger and more muscular, lifting only 2 times a week. And I'm going to be covering a little bit of the science in that one. So, have any of you guys ever like dieted for long periods of time and then you either like hit a wall with your weight loss, like maybe you stopped losing weight, or maybe you felt like you had to eat less and less and less food in order to lose weight?
Yes.
I tried. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying yes, for sure.
Yeah. Jacob?
I say I tried to, but I just get really hungry and then I do it for like a week or two. And that's it.
Yeah, basically like you feel like you're starving, but you're not losing the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dina's shaking her head too. I know Claiborne was there at one point before he joined my program.
Yep.
So yeah. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. So a lot of times what happens in that scenario is, so it could be a couple of things. Let's say that you're starting a diet, you'd like to lose some fat, and you start counting calories, and maybe you're like, okay, like I've heard 1,200 calories or 1,500 calories is a good start. And so you're just like basically guessing, going off of like, what people say on the internet without really knowing like where your metabolism is and what would be a good calorie deficit for you. And so a lot of times what happens is people will either cut their calories by way too much. And what happens in that scenario is our metabolisms are basically our entire bodies are really good at adapting. And they're really good at protecting themselves too. So if you cut your calories by too much at once, your body sees that as a stress response, and it decides that it's going to intentionally slow down your metabolism to protect itself so you don't deteriorate. And really it's a survival mechanism that your body does to protect itself. So like just think of like, before modern times when we have all this technology and all this abundant food around us, it wasn't always like that. Like food used to be really scarce. And so it's natural for our bodies, if it feels like it's has to kick in that survival mechanism, it will slow down your metabolism if you cut your calories by too much. So that's one scenario that could happen to your metabolism. Another thing that could happen is you could diet for too long of a period. Oftentimes, this happens more frequently to women than men, at least in like Western societies. You will find that a lot of people, especially women, will diet for months or years on end. Have any of you guys like dieted for more than like 3, 5 months or more than a year?
Yes.
Yeah. Dina shaking her head. Jacob, Claiborne, what about you guys?
No, well, I guess in high school, but I ate like so little that like I dropped like I went from 210 to 120 pounds in like 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you
I
telling
have, yeah.
I'm sorry, Claiborne, what'd you say?
That I have, yeah.
Have. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a frustrating feeling because like, you're still dieting, you're still eating less, but you hit this wall and you can't lose weight anymore, or you have to decrease your calories even lower, eating even less food, and like just barely any weight comes off and you're still starving. So that's the same concept as the first example, except it's over a like prolonged period of time. Depending on your starting point, the max amount of time that you should be in a diet phase, a caloric deficit, is like 8 to 20 weeks. If you're really obese, and let's say that you've never dieted before, you could probably get away with 20 weeks, which is 5 months. But even still, you need like periodic diet breaks in between to give your body a chance to like recoup and basically prevent metabolic adaptation from continuing even further. And again, it's dependent on your starting point, like how much fat you have to lose, and also the health of your metabolism. If you have a history of chronic dieting, but if your metabolism isn't like in a kind of okay spot to lose weight, then you need a shorter diet. But if you have a lot of weight to lose and you don't have like a really bad diet history, then you can go a little bit longer. Now, and the reason why is, again, you don't want your metabolism to slow down. Anytime you chronically diet for long periods of time, your body's going to have the same response where that defense mechanism kicks in. It tries to protect yourself, and so it slows down your metabolism. And you'll see that in a lot of people where they hit that weight loss plateau, where initially they might lose some weight, but they just hit this hard wall that even though they're doing everything perfectly, they can't lose weight anymore. And so, the question comes down to, by the way, if you're on Facebook watching, go ahead and comment so that I know that you're part of the training. So the question comes down to like, how do you repair your metabolism if it needs to be repaired? Well, kind of like the same concept of, what causes your metabolism slow down over a long period of time. It's gradually eating less and less food than your body needs to maintain or sustain itself. So if your metabolism is damaged, if it's slow, if say you're a woman who's 150 pounds, you are only eating 1,500 calories, that's nothing. You need to eat more than that. Your metabolism should be faster than that, to where that's not your maintenance. Question, how many calories do you think I eat in a day?
2,800.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dina?
I was gonna
Sorry, go ahead, Jacob.
guess around there, like 26, 2,700.
2,700. Okay. What about you, Claiborne and Dina?
I'm going to guess
Oh.
2,000.
Okay.
I'll guess 3,000.
3,000. Okay. I'm like really impressed by y'all's numbers. Okay, so for reference, I am 142 pounds. I'm 5'3". And currently I'm in a reverse diet. I eat 2,000 to 2,200 calories. There was a point back before my metabolism got damaged that I was eating like 2,800 calories a day, and I was maintaining my weight. So I'm just giving that as an example of like, I'm a pretty small woman, but I eat like a lot of food. And this isn't even like my metabolic threshold, meaning, so when I talk about metabolic threshold, I am referring to like the ceiling cap of like my metabolism's potential for eating the most amount of food without gaining fat. So I covered that in the kickoff call, where I covered Claiborne, how before he joined my program, he was eating 1,800 to 2,000 calories. By the way, at the time, he was 206 pounds, so a lot heavier than me. He wasn't overweight, but you know, as a man, like much heavier than me, but he was eating less than me, and he hit a weight loss plateau. He could not lose weight anymore, and his strength plateaued as well. He couldn't get stronger anymore. So I started him in a reverse diet to repair his metabolism, to bring him to his metabolic threshold, meaning eating as much food as he could without gaining weight. And we got his maintenance calories all the way up to, off the top of my head, like 3,200 calories, and he maintained the exact same weight, 206 pounds. He's right now in a lean bulk, so he has gained a little bit of weight, but that's to be expected in a lean bulk, and a lot of that is muscle mass. So we've both been really happy with that. So yeah, how you fix your metabolism is kind of the reverse. It's the opposite of slowing down your metabolism. You have to add a little bit of food at a time, gradually over time, letting your body adjust to those higher calories. And as you do that, your body will naturally respond to that, increasing its metabolism, using those calories, which are energy, as actual energy. And a lot of times what happens in that case is people will get leaner. Even though they're eating more food, they may or may not stay about the same weight. Sometimes the scale goes up, sometimes it goes down, but a lot of times they get leaner in that process. Tanya can speak to this as well. She's in a reverse diet with me. And so the ultimate goal in repairing your metabolism is not only speeding up your metabolism so that, you know, you have more energy. It's also so that like when you finally do start a diet phase, you can finally lose that stubborn fat that would not come off before, even though you dieted for months on end, even though you hit a weight loss plateau and were like perfect on your diet. And what also happens in that process is you'll find you'll have a ton more energy. For women, you'll have better cycles, less period cramps, better improved mood for men too, increased strength, all kinds of stuff, because basically your body's getting more nutrients. So that's basically covers like the gist of how to fix and repair your metabolism. Do you guys have any questions on that before I move into the training aspect?
No questions.
No.
I'm sorry, Jacob, what'd you say?
I said, no, I don't.
Okay, awesome. Facebook, if you'll have any questions, just comment. I don't see comments at
This
the
is
moment.
Dina. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
because I can't see myself. Anyway, okay, there we are. The question is, the key to the diet and the food is good stuff, not eating a bunch of junk food either.
Well, it depends. So there was a study.
Mhm.
There's a balance to that. So there was a study that covered two groups of people. One group ate a whole foods only diet. The other group ate junk foods only diet. And they all ate the exact same amount of calories. At the end of the study, they found that the group who ate the whole foods diet burned more calories than the group who ate the junk foods diet. So there is that aspect of it too. If you have health issues, like I highly, highly recommend eating predominantly whole foods. Like if you have poor energy, if you have allergies, if you have gut issues, and I would definitely recommend that, like, if you are like unfamiliar with fat loss, so you can get better results eating a whole foods only diet. But in terms of long-term sustainability, can everybody eat perfectly healthy like 100% of the time? No. And a lot of times when people try to do that, they end up burning themselves out so that they like pretty much crash and burn, and they're like, oh, I messed up on my healthy whole foods diet, so let me just binge on this pizza. So you have to take into account like also like short and long-term sustainability for yourself. Can you be more consistent and therefore get better results if you have, say, a more balanced approach to it? Like, 85% of your diet is clean, and then, occasionally you might have like a Snickers bar or, a couple slices of pizza. Because when it comes down to it, long-term sustainability is the biggest factor for not just reaching your goals, but also keeping them. So yes, if you have health issues and you're trying to heal them, like gut sensitivities, absolutely stick to a predominantly whole foods diet. Do you have to stay on that forever? No. It's just for the time being. Can you get better health results with a whole foods diet? I would say more than likely yes. But you got to take into account the individual person. What can you be most consistent with? So good point, Dina. Really appreciate that. Cool. Anyone else have any questions? Cool. I think I'm still alive. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. It got like super quiet. Okay, cool. So now let's talk about how to get leaner and stronger, lifting only 2 times a week. So I did cover the science in this in another training video, so I'm not going to go into like super great detail on that, but I am going to touch the main points. So when it comes to getting leaner and stronger, like there are a million ways, maybe not a million, but there are a bunch of different ways to train. So you have to think to yourself, like, what is the most effective way to train for me to get my results of leaner, stronger, more muscular, or toner? And a lot of people come down to the 2 comparisons of, should I do cardio or should I do a form of resistance training? Well, to get better results, you should do resistance training, and I'm going to cover why. So resistance training, basically it increases your strength, your muscle mass, and tone. Women, all you women who are looking to, like, you say you want to look tone, in reality, you want to lose fat and you want to gain muscle. If you want to look tone, you need to build muscle. No, that does not mean you're going to look like a man. It actually takes years to build a substantial amount of muscle. So if you say you want to look tone, in reality, you want to lean down and build muscle. So resistance training is your best option. It also improves your body composition, and it's a good stimulus. Resistance training is a good stimulus for changing all those things: leaner, stronger, more muscular. But cardio does not improve the above. It does not make you leaner, stronger, and more muscular. It does improve your cardiovascular health, which is awesome, and your endurance. And yes, you may lose weight with cardio, but when you prioritize cardio over resistance training, you get that skinny fat look. Have you guys ever like seen like marathon runners, not sprint runners, but marathon runners? Like, yeah, they're slim, but they often like kind of look flabby. Or just go to the gym and look at people who only do cardio. Like, they don't have much shape to their body. They might be slim, but it's like kind of that skinny fat look. They're skinny, but it's just this not very toned, or, you know, and most people don't want that look. But they don't realize that resistance training can get them better results. So, okay, also there's another factor. So when you think of calories burned in resistance training versus cardiovascular training, there's a principle called EPOC, EPOC, and this is the result of an elevation in oxygen consumption and metabolism. So basically, like during cardio, like you may burn more calories during exercise due to the principle of EPOC, but resistance training burns even more calories in up to the 24 to 48 hours following the training. As well as improving your body composition, muscle mass, and strength, which cardio does not do. So not only does cardio not make you look leaner, stronger, or more muscular, but it also doesn't burn as many calories as resistance training. Okay, so if resistance training is the answer, who here thinks that you should just follow what typical bodybuilders do in their workouts, how they train, how they eat?
Not everybody's the same.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel unless you're like training for one of those competitions, you probably don't need to train that way.
Okay. Cool. Anybody else? Awesome. So oftentimes what happens when people start looking into resistance training is they fall into the trap of thinking that they should do what conventional bodybuilders do. But they shouldn't do that. Does anyone know why?
They're not bodybuilders?
Not quite. So you would think, because like bodybuilders are like the most muscular people on the planet, right? They may not be the strongest. Like if you look at strength comparisons, powerlifters and like strongman competitors are the strongest, but oftentimes bodybuilders are the most muscular. So the reason why none of us, the majority of people on earth shouldn't follow what conventional bodybuilders do is because the majority of bodybuilders take steroids. So Jacob, do you know like the normal testosterone range for men, for natural men?
Yeah, doctors said it was between 900 and 1100. I don't know if that's milligrams or what, but the numbers are between 900 and 1100.
Yeah. Cool. So that's the natural testosterone for a natural man, meaning he's not taking steroids. These people who take steroids, and this is both men and women, it's going to be higher in the men, but their testosterone levels get to the like couple of thousands, and it's because they're taking steroids. So, and when you're taking steroids, it also dramatically improves your recoverability. So when you're training and you're training hard, you're tearing down muscle fibers. And if you're tearing down muscle fibers, there has to be a time where your body rests and recoups and rebuilds itself. If you're taking steroids or any other form of drug like that, you have this like profound and quick turnaround for recovery. So if you recover super quickly, wouldn't that make sense that you could train more often, right?
I
Okay.
would think so.
Yeah, but if you're not taking steroids, then wouldn't you think that you need to rest more often to get better results so that your body can rebuild itself?
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of people will follow conventional training splits. They'll work out 4 to 6 days a week. Oftentimes they're chasing the pump. They're not really going for like a quality of movement necessarily, or like training to failure. They're more so like just doing tons of reps, tons of sets to build a pump, which a pump is where you have like this temporary inflation in your muscle due to the extra blood flow, but it's just temporary. It only lasts for like, maybe an hour or so. Oftentimes they're chasing fluff volume meaning kind of like junk sets, like, not really training to failure. It's just they're doing a bunch of different sets. And also their intensity is significantly decreased, because if you're training high volume, anytime you train high volume, you inevitably are sacrificing intensity. And those of you who are in my program, you know what I'm talking about with intensity. And that is training to momentary muscular failure. And we're going to be covering why that's so important in just a moment. So the reason why this is a problem for us natural lifters is it's inefficient. It wastes energy, unnecessary energy and time. You don't have to go to the gym 4 to 6 days a week. You don't have to do 3, 4, 5 sets per exercise. And overall, this style of training is less stimulating to your central nervous system, which is where the predominant strength gains come from, and less stimuli to your muscles, because it's basically just junk volume. You're not training very hard. If you're training that frequently, that many days per week, and during that high of volume, you're not training that hard. So basically, how do you tell your body to grow and get stronger? So basically this comes down to progressive overload, meaning gradually getting stronger over time, whether that's more weight, more reps, basically always improving each week if you can. And in a moment, I'll teach you how you can improve each week. So, but not all forms of progressive overload are effective. So some form of progressive overloads, people do they might do more sets. So that just makes your workout longer. It also removes some of your intensity. So that's ineffective, but that's what most people often do. And then you also must recover well in order for your body to grow and get stronger. If you don't, you'll stall. You remember, guys, how I was talking about how people hit that weight loss plateau? It's the same with training. You will hit a strength plateau. You will hit a muscle mass plateau if you train ineffectively and you train too much. So you must recover well in order to prevent that and get better results of leaner, stronger, more muscular. Cool. So what does yeah, go ahead.
I'm at the dinner now, so I'm gonna take off. So
okay, awesome. Thank you for joining.
all right, bye-bye.
Bye. So what does training optimally look like? Training optimally looks like training really hard only 2 times a week. Now, for some of you who are beginner or like more intermediate exercisers in my program, I will start you out at 3 times a week. But once you get to a point where you do really well at training to momentary muscular failure, you're going to graduate and get better results lifting 2 times a week. You also must recover well during those 4 to 5 other days off during the week. You must target both your central nervous system energy system and your muscular energy system. In my program, we take care of both. You must prioritize intensity over volume. Remember what I said. Anytime that you have more volume, like more sets, more reps, more workout days during the week, you inevitably are sacrificing intensity. There's no way you could train to complete intensity during every set, every workout, if you're doing multiple sets and, lifting more than 3 times a week. You also only need 1 set per exercise if you train to momentary muscular failure. So what these principles look like: training to momentary muscular failure. So when you do that, you are targeting both your type 1 muscle fibers and your type 2 muscle fibers. So the type 1 muscle fibers are slow twitch, and they are often used for more endurance-like activities like running a marathon. So, running a marathon takes hours, but the reason why they're able to do that for hours is because it's lower intensity. They're using their slow twitch muscle fibers, and slow twitch muscle fibers are fatigue resistant because they have this recycling capability, to where as some of the type 1 muscle fibers are working, the other ones are resting. And they recycle working and resting, working and resting. And that's why marathon runners can run for so long. Type 2 muscle fibers are fast twitch, and they are used for power activities like doing a really high jump, as high as you can jump, doing a 1 rep max. Think of a 200-pound man squatting 500 pounds. Let's say that's his 1 rep max. Sprinting at maximal effort. You guys have seen the sprinters who run as fast as they can. That uses type 2 muscle fibers. So in order to stimulate both and get the best amount of muscle gains and strength gains, you have to train to failure. But you only have to do 1 set per exercise if you train to failure. So training to failure is what stimulates adaptations, which is telling your body, hey, I need to get stronger. Hey, I need to build more muscle mass. Cool. So, and there are a ton of studies that back up all of this stuff, and I'm going to briefly cover some of these. So there was a study that proved that training to momentary muscular failure provides the best results. So in this study, they gathered a group of resistance trained men. So they weren't beginners. They had experience, and this is important. They separated them into 3 groups, and each group performed only 1 set twice a week. So they worked out twice a week, and the study was done for 10 weeks. One group performed sets to perceived rep max. So perceived rep max is called volitional failure, VF. That is very different from momentary muscular failure, MMF. I'm going to cover why in just a second. So the first group performed sets to perceived rep max, meaning they thought that they reached failure. The second group performed sets to momentary muscular failure, which is actual failure, meaning your muscle literally cannot do any more work. And the third group performed sets in a rest pause style. What this looks like is, say you're squatting, it's really heavy, you do 1 rep, you stand up, and as you're standing up, you rest for a moment with the bar still on your back, you take a couple of breaths, and then you reset and squat again. That's rest pause. Normally it lasts for a few seconds between reps. At the end, the perceived rep max group, meaning volitional failure group, meaning thinking they thought they reached failure, they didn't improve in any way. But the other 2 did, particularly the momentary muscular failure group, who outshined both groups in strength gains, muscle mass gains, and fat loss. So to summarize this, training your sets to momentary muscular failure provides the best results. And training to momentary muscular failure outshined even rest pause style, indicating that constant tension, like time under load, which is what I try to teach you guys who are my clients, provides better results than taking breathers between reps, which was the rest pause style group. So I want to particularly highlight in this study the volitional failure group versus the momentary muscular failure group. And I want to pinpoint out to you specifically, Claiborne. So I know that we've kind of been struggling having you reach failure in like the leg exercises, which is totally understandable. Like legs are challenging, especially reaching failure. So if you look at this study, the group that performed a volitional failure, they didn't improve in any way. So if you're training to failure and if you're like feeling uncomfortable, by the way, so if you're training to failure and you're doing everything correctly, nothing will ever hurt. You won't injure yourself. But, you know, you're training to failure. So there could be a level of discomfort. Like it doesn't feel exactly nice to train to failure, but it's not a bad thing. Like there's no pain. But if you cut yourself short in training to failure, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. But let's put things into perspective. If you're only doing one set and you get great results training to momentary muscular failure, and it's only, let's say it takes you like 60 seconds to perform that one set, and then you're done. That's all you have to do. It's only 60 seconds of slight discomfort. And really, like the beginning of the exercise isn't really, you know, that unpleasant. It's more so like the last 20 seconds as you're getting really, really close to that momentary muscular failure. So when you put things in perspective, that it's a really only 20 seconds of your life that has temporary discomfort, but it's gonna get you amazing results. It can help you push past that mental threshold that tells you like, hey, this is kind of starting to feel a little uncomfortable. My muscles are burning, so I'm going to stop at volitional failure, meaning I think I can't do any more reps, versus momentary muscular failure, which is I literally cannot do any more reps because my muscles will not move the weight anymore. So yeah, super. I find that stuff super interesting. What do you guys think? What are you guys thinking so far?
It is interesting. It's some of them is a little hard for me to hit. I'm working on it though.
Yes, it is a learning process. So you're not doing anything wrong, Tanya. It's a learning process, learning how to train to failure. And that's why for the time being, like I do have you doing more volume. So you're doing more sets, you're doing a little bit more exercises, which is perfectly fine. You know, until you get more advanced, then that's when we can decrease your volume and because you're upping your intensity.
Right.
So yeah, anyone who like hasn't gotten it yet, like it's totally normal for training to failure to be a learning process. Like trust me, it is for everybody. It was for me, literally everybody.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Ronald says, Paige always with the knowledge. Thank you. Cool. So we're almost done here.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
What about how do you feel about stretching? Should you stretch before or after the workout? When is the best time, or should you do both?
You should always stretch after. So there are actually different types of stretching. I don't know if you know the different types, but so there's dynamic stretching, which would be like, okay, so there's dynamic stretching, there's static stretching. Static stretching is the conventional one that most people do, which is where they like, I don't know, say I'm trying to like, you know, stretch my tricep and I like hold it here. That's static stretching. So you definitely do not want to do static stretching before resistance training. And the reason why is because you will actually be weaker during that workout if you do static stretching first. You can do it after, and that's actually the ideal time to do static stretching is after a workout. Now, you can do dynamic stretching before your workouts, and that will not weaken you. And what dynamic stretching is so I have all my clients doing this. So Tanya and Claiborne, y'all are on the Zoom call. Y'all know what the dynamic stretching is. That's basically where like you don't hold a stretch, you just move into a stretch, say maybe side, like one side, and then you move into the stretch on the other side. So an example would be like a side lunge. So like you're standing here and you stick out your leg, and then you're stretching the inside of your leg. You just, move into it. So it's more like a flowing stretch, moving side to side. And that helps to like warm up your muscle bellies, your joints, your ligaments, all those things. So that's fine to do before a workout. Cool. Does that answer your question? Okay, cool. So another study, in 2000, a study assessed a group of experienced weightlifters. Basically, let me summarize this. So this study proved that only one set is needed to maximize gains. So in this study, they got together a group of experienced weightlifters. Now, this is important because everyone knows when you're a beginner weightlifter, you get what is called newbie gains. Newbie gains meaning because you don't have any history of weightlifting, you lean out really quickly, you build muscle mass and strength really quickly. That is normal for basically every newbie lifter. But once you reach a certain like lifting age, basically those newbie gains go away, and it's harder to build muscle and strength at such a rate as newbies. So this study is important. They got experienced weightlifters, so they're not newbies. And the whole group for 1 year performed a whole body workout routine 3 days a week. So they're working out 3 days a week, performing only one set per exercise. And they did 9 exercises total. So that's only 9 sets per workout. That's very, very low volume. If any of you know anything about conventional training, that's very low volume. After that year, they split the group into 2 groups. One group remained in the original routine, and the other group increased the sets from 1 to 3 sets per exercise. So they increased their volume. So they went from doing 9 exercises and 9 sets to doing 18 sets total per workout. At the end of the 13-week study, both groups increased their strength, muscle size, and muscle endurance, but there was no or negligible difference in improvements in any of those areas comparing the 1 set group to the 3 set group. So basically, there's no point in doing multiple sets. You don't get extra benefit. In fact, you end up wasting energy and time because it doesn't get you better results. You can also see this in a 1996 study proving this on untrained individuals as well. So this works on both experienced lifters and newbie lifters too. Another study also proves at different volume sets. So there was a group that did 3 sets, 6 sets, and 12 sets, that there were no notable gains performing more sets than 3 sets. So they've shown that this is proven on like the smaller scale, comparing 1 sets to 3 sets. And they've also proved this on the higher scale, 3 sets to 12 sets. So to summarize this, doing more than 1 set per exercise brings about no benefit in strength or hypertrophy, which is muscle gain, particularly when you account for the extra time and the energy to perform all those additional sets. Another interesting thing is you also need to train both your central nervous system and your muscular system. Remember what I was talking about earlier, how strength gains, think of like power lifters or strongman competitors. Those strength gains predominantly come from their central nervous system, which is located in your brain. It doesn't fully come from the strength of your muscle. It does to a degree, but not completely. So it's important to target both that and your muscular system to maximize your gains. So there was a study in 2018 that took a group of 30 men and split them into 3 groups. All 3 groups performed one side of their body, one leg and one arm, at 20% of their 1 rep max, which means really, really lightweight. The group 1 performed the other side of their limbs at 40% of their 1 rep max, meaning slightly heavier than the other side, but not by much. 40% is still really light. Group 2 performed the other side of their limbs at 60%. Group 3 performed the other side of their limbs at 80%. So the other groups are getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And their volume was matched for their 20% limbs in all 3 groups. At the end of the 12 weeks, all groups saw an increase in muscular size and strength, but the 60% and 80% groups found the most significant increases, with 80% leading the way with strength and muscular size. So what this goes to show is that you can get better strength and muscular gains when you also train heavy. If you're in my program, a lot of you are already starting to do the strength sets versus what I call the bodybuilding sets. So you're familiar with this concept. I think another reason why it's likely that, and this is a theory on my part, why it's likely that the 60 and 80% groups, using the heavier weights, why they got better results in strength and muscle mass is because it's a little bit easier to tell when you have reached failure training heavy versus training really light. If you're training really light, like let's say it takes you like 40 reps to reach failure, is that really are you sure that you've reached failure, or are you just feeling like fatigued and like maybe your cardiovascular system is getting to you? So I think that could be another factor. If you go really light, it is harder to tell when you've reached failure. Cool. Almost done, Gash. So how do you apply this in your workouts? So whether you're doing 2 or 3 workouts per week, depending on whether you're advanced or a beginner, you should have a couple of heavy compound exercises that are taken to, let me let Chris in. You should have a couple of heavy compound exercises that are taken to maximal effort, as this will stimulate your strength improvements, which is your CNS getting stronger, and fatiguing your type 2 muscle fibers. Remember, type 2 muscle fibers do not kick in until you are fatigued. And basically your type 1 muscle fibers are fatigued. So it's not until the latter end of your set that your type 2 muscle fibers kick in. So after that, you should also do a few moderately heavy bodybuilding exercises of about like 60 to 80% of your 1 rep max. So still relatively heavy, that are also maximal intensity, meaning you're also training these to failure, but they should be performed differently than your strength sets. So bodybuilding sets should be slow and controlled with constant tension, meaning you're not resting the weight between reps. Remember the rest pause style training? We don't want to do that in our bodybuilding sets. And not flinging the weight around with momentum or acceleration, like you're hoisting the weight up. Like say you're doing a bar curl and you just like fling it up with your body. Like if you're trying to work out your biceps, you should only target your biceps. You'll get better results that way. And also like another factor, so when you think about volume, think of like conventional workouts. Oftentimes those people they're doing their reps really fast. So say they're doing bicep curls, you'll often see them doing them like up, down, up, down. They might rest like and take a breath for like a second or two, try another, rest for a second or two, try another, rest for a second or two, try another. So let's say it takes them 1 second to go up, 1 second to go down. And let's say they do 10 reps total. That's 30 seconds of actual work doing bicep curls. Hold on, okay, so let's say hold on. Let's say they do 1 second up, 1 second down, and maybe they do a couple of breathers between reps, like say maybe 1 second between reps. So up, down, breathe, up, down, breathe. So that's 30 seconds of actual time per set doing the set, but only 20 seconds of actual work. They're doing 10 reps, but it's only 20 seconds of actual work on the muscle. If they do 3 sets just like that, then that's 60 seconds of work time on the muscles. 90 seconds of actual time spent in all 3 sets. And let's say you rest 2 minutes between those sets, that's like 5.5 minutes performing bicep curls. So you're doing bicep curls for 5.5 minutes, but you only have 60 seconds of actual work time. That's not very much of actual work. Now compare that to training to failure and keeping constant tension on whatever muscle you're working. So if you're still working biceps, keeping constant tension, not resting between reps. And if you slow it down, prioritizing quality of movement, meaning not hoisting the weight around, not trying to do it as fast as you can, but focusing on quality of movement, you're gonna get more work time. So technically more volume, but in a much more time efficient way. So let me go over this. So if you do it this way, if you instead keep constant tension in your biceps, and let's say you do a 3-second positive, so that's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and a 3-second negative, 1, 2, 3, and you perform 10 reps total, then that is 60 seconds of work time. But if you train that to momentary muscular failure, meaning you fully fatigued both of your muscle fibers, then that's going to stimulate. That's enough stimulus to tell your body to change, to grow, and get stronger. But because you were slow and controlled, it only took you 60 seconds to do that total. And you still got the same amount of volume, 60 seconds of work time. But it only took you 60 seconds to do it versus the 5.5 minutes to do the conventional 3 sets. So you can make your workouts much, much more efficient and effective. You don't have to go to the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week to get great results. You only have to go 2 times a week if you're advanced, 3 times a week if you're a beginner, and you're learning that process of how to basically train to failure. So yeah, you guys have any questions or comments on any of that?
I don't.
Cool, awesome. Hey, Chris. Okay, he might be at work. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Like how to increase your metabolism, how to train 2 times a week and get better results than most people who go 4, 5, 6 times a week. If you guys have any questions on Facebook, just type them. If you guys have any questions later on, just let me know. And oh yeah, so we're gonna pick the prize winner for the digital scale. So let's cover the prize real quick. So, okay. So this is the prize for attending this call. So I actually have this scale. What I really like about it is it goes by 0.1 increments. Most scales go by 0.2. So it might be 120, 120.2, 120.4. So the more precise the measurement, the more accurate of data we can get and see the changes more accurately in your body as it's making changes. So I really like this scale because it's more unique. It's more rare for scales to only go by 0.1 increments. Okay, so the people on the call, let's see who's on here. So you guys, if you're on Facebook, comment and I will enter you in the drawing. So it's Chris, Claiborne, Dina, and Tanya. Okay, who wants the scale?
I do.
Okay, let's see. So I think I'm gonna do the spinny wheel thing again. Do you guys like that?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Okay, so I just gotta enter y'all's names real quick and then I can do the spinny wheel thing. Okay, Dina, so not on the call right now. It's Tanya. Claiborne's still on, right? Claiborne.
Yep, I'm still there.
Okay, so just you four guys, right? I think that's it. Okay, if I missed anyone, please let me know. Okay, let's see who wins. Congrats, Dina! Awesome. Cool. So Dina won. I'm gonna send you I'm gonna send it your way, okay? Hey, you're muted. Are you excited?
Yes, I'm totally excited.
Heck yeah. Well, cool. I'm glad. But yeah, thank you guys for joining the Zoom. I hope this was helpful. We just have 1 week left of the habit challenge, and then someone is gonna win $500 cash. Tomorrow I'm gonna be starting the workout challenge, which is where you win the resistance band set. That one's really cool. You can do so many different exercises conveniently at your house. You don't have to have a ton of space. And that's literally all the equipment you need is that particular resistance band set because you can literally do anything with it. So yeah, I will be posting that tomorrow, Tuesday. It's a 3-day challenge, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Whoever most consistently posts their workout videos those 3 days gets the most points, and then they qualify to be entered in to win that. So good luck, you guys, and it was great talking to all of y'all.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Ronald says congrats, Dina.
Thank you. I'm on my cell phone, so it's hard. You know, one time you push the button and you can't see yourself. But anyway,
That's
thank you.
okay. No worries. All right, I'll see y'all soon. Bye.
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 Paige, can I ask one question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Was I supposed to send you the link again for my week-long thing, or were you able to get into it?
Oh, yes, do send that to me every week.
Oh,
That way
okay.
I know that you know, you filled out everything and it's all up to date.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, I'll send you the link right now.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
great. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Do you want me to stay on, Paige?
Oh, yeah, actually, I'll call you, okay?
Okay. All right. Bye.
Actually, no, we can stay on.
No.
Yeah, let's just stay on. So
Okay.
all you other guys, you'll have to get off. Okay. Bye, guys. Okay.
You may not be able to see me because it's super dark here and I'm out.
Okay. Let me turn off